The GEEK Files, 2026, February 20th, Burnaby. So yeah, night shift at Comair in the winter of '86. Just goofy stuff happened and things just got overlooked. So the Hawker Siddeley 748s, number one, their electricals were done by Lucas. Now, anybody who's owned a vintage British sports car, an MG or Triumph, knows Lucas as the Lord of Darkness. And it applied to aircraft. One of the 748s, they're 24 volt aircraft, 24, 48 volt, 24 I think. The only aircraft, we couldn't figure out why the wingtip light wasn't working. We traced the wire. The wire was continuous. It read 0 ohms, yet it had a 10 volt or 8 volt drop over its length, which is like, it comes into the junction at, out of the junction at 24 volts, and when it gets to the wingtip light, it was whatever it was, 16 volts. It was just like, and we couldn't figure out like where it was losing this voltage. It was just like going up in smoke. And one of the particular 748s, MAK, M-A-K, I don't remember CG or CF, M-A-K, it was one of my favorite aircrafts. It had a great big patch across the center section of the wings, because the first indication that the pilots had that although the landing gear lights indicated the landing gear was down, the landing gear wasn't down, was the sound of the flaps dragging on the runway. So they bellied it into the runway. And the next thing that happened to poor old Mac was on a training flight. So the Rolls-Royce engines on it could be run wet, which meant that you injected water meth into the combustion or the compression section of the Rolls-Royce turboprops, so you could cool the mixture down and overpressurize it, and then you'd get more power out of it. They're called wet takeoffs. And they had water meth tanks on the side, and part of the inspection was to make sure the water meth tanks were full with the proper density of water meth. And we had, so these were special blue barrels, and we had a hydrometer to make sure that the water meth mixture had the proper mixture to put in it. So these pilots with a plane load of passengers training a new guy in Churchill, and again, it was lucky it was Churchill, decided to do a wet takeoff. So they spooled both engines up and hit the wet injection, and immediately both engines caught fire. They couldn't fire suppress it, so they cut fuel, and they wound up landing on the mud flats out of Churchill. It just so many horseshoes up their butts on this one, and people just had to walk through the mud to get back. No injuries, and they recovered the airplane. Well, what had happened was whoever topped off the water meth tanks didn't check the density of the water meth, at which point they would have found that somebody had used the water meth barrel, these are 45-gallon barrels, 25-gallon barrels, to drain jet fuel into, and didn't bother writing on the outside of the water meth barrel jet fuel. So instead of a water meth mixture to cool the compression section of the engine, they pumped jet fuel into the compression section, which lit on fire and melted the compression section and torched both engines. Yeah, so yeah, midnights, man. Just the dumbest stuff happens. Just because, a cascade of failures. Someone didn't write on the barrel, the water meth barrel contains jet fuel. And the guy who picked that water meth barrel never bothered to check that the water meth had the appropriate density so that, and would have discovered it was jet fuel, and pumped jet fuel into the water meth tanks. I wonder whatever happened to Mac. I like that airplane, man. Because you're just like, third time's a charm, right? Like I felt so secure. Like, what else can happen to this aircraft? It survived two things that should have been absolutely catastrophic. Yeah, make bad life decisions. You don't make any money, but you get good stories.